Okay, so Remnant 2 has got its first, what I'm going to call major update, and we're going to go through the patch notes. Some of you are going to be really happy because of the buffs, but some of you are going to be disappointed because there's been some nerfs and some things that have helped a lot of players out have been patched out of the game. So starting at the very top of this, you can see them all on Steam, and I'm pretty sure they would have put them out on Twitter and stuff. The very first thing is performance and crashes. Initial optimizations have been made to improve overall performance, updates to improve hitching and potential crashes, fixed multiple reported crash bugs, high detail shadows have been moved to a separate option and can be enabled in the options on PC. Then they've got quality of life stuff. They've increased the trait cap by +5, so you can have a max of 65 traits now, or trait levels, trait points, whatever. The Tome of Knowledge will now grant scrap and XP when the player has reached the trait cap. The Orb of Undoing now has unlimited uses. Players can sell any extras for scrap, so when you go and visit Wallace and you can buy the Orb of Undoing to reset your trait points, that's now a one-time purchase. It has unlimited uses. They've removed the trait requirement for equipping a second archetype. Players may now slot their second archetype as soon as they obtain or convert another engram at Wallace. They've removed the scrap cost for converting a mysterious item into an engram, so that used to be 1,000 scrap, is now completely free, no scrap use or cost whatsoever. They've lowered the Luminite cost for converting a mysterious item into an engram. That used to be 10, that is now 5. They've slightly increased the scrap gain from breakables, so going around smashing your breakables as you're just roaming around the different worlds, that's going to give you more scrap. They've increased the scrap gain from regular and rare chests, and they've also done the same when killing aberrations. They have also reduced the cost of Bloodroot. Then for the Explorer archetype, they have, this is balancing stuff now. They've increased the duration of the scavenger buff per pickup from 15 to 20 seconds. They've increased the duration of the Gold Digger buffs from 15 to 20 seconds. And they've increased the healing amount of Gold Digger healing fountain from 1.5 to 2 HP per second. With the Archon, they've increased the Havoc form lightning hands damage from 28 to 56. So a gigantic buff on that. They've increased the Havoc form blink damage from 100 to 150. They've reduced the Havoc form cooldown from 120 seconds down to 90. So a gigantic 30-second decrease in the amount it takes to cool down. Then for the Challenger, they've adjusted the damage fall off for the close quarters perk. At max range, the Challenger will always maintain a 10% damage bonus to all damage. The Handler, they've increased the Pack Hunter range from 25 to 40 meters, and they've increased the base max health of the Handler's Very Good Boy Companion. For the Summoner, they've increased the base maximum health of the Hollow and Flyer variants. They've switched the Aphelion scaling to boss/special damage scaling instead of standard. They've increased the fire damage for Shatterstar, which is the Savior mod. They reduced the fire rate on Nightfall in Standard and Dreadwalker fire modes. So Nightfall has had a nerf in both of its fire modes, and that's because it was dealing far more damage than other weapons in both modes. And when you had Dreadwalker active, it was almost 20% more compared to other guns with their mod active. They have reduced the AoE burst damage of the Enigma's overload application from 40 to 30, reduced the subsequent tether damage of Enigma primary fire from 75 to 65, reduced the mag capacity of the Enigma from 30 to 25, and they've increased the total reserve capacity from 120 to 125. So they've nerfed the mag capacity by 5, they've reduced the tether damage by 10%, and they've reduced the AoE burst damage by 10 itself, and all they've done is increase the reserve capacity by 5. But they have stated it was performing too far above their goal for AoE clearing, so a few adjustments were made. There is still an issue with it that's ongoing, ignoring armor. They're going to address that in the future. What they've also done is reduce the damage on Nightweaver's grab attacks. That's when the Nightweaver uses the wall or lunges. They've adjusted the hitbox of Magister Delane's, I don't know how you say that boss name, the tongue attack to better match the visuals. They've reduced incoming damage in multiplayer from 25% per additional player to 15, so instead of having 50% extra damage, it's now 30. And then in terms of bug fixes, they fixed multiple reported crash bugs and instability issues, and a bunch of progression blockers. One that prevented players completing the tutorial if a crash happened when interacting with Ford. Another one was an infinite loading screen, which was present for some players when selecting skip tutorial on the character creation screen. Another one that fixed an issue with the plasma cutter, preventing the final boss from transitioning into its second phase. I think they still need to fix the plasma cutter itself because it doesn't always spawn. They've also fixed one with the Tal Ratha boss fight lockout if game was exited during the cutscene dialogue. They fixed the Astropath boss fight failing to start if the game was exited during cutscenes as well. They've addressed an issue with trait points going negative. Negative ones have been flipped to positive, and that's also going to fix issues with the second archetype being locked out. And they've addressed an issue of players not receiving achievements in multiplayer games. However, that's not going to retroactively reward ones that should have been previously unlocked. But then we have players who completed Oracle's Quilt will now receive half quilt as well as the full quilt if they didn't previously receive it. They fixed an issue with weapons not unlocking after a hardcore playthrough. And unfortunately, the hardcore awards will not be retroactively awarded. They fixed an issue with weapons not unlocking after completing playthroughs of different difficulties. Unfortunately, they cannot be retroactively awarded either. Players who listened to all of Mudtooth's stories but didn't receive all of the rewards can visit Mudtooth to receive the rewards. Players who didn't receive the Iron Cylinder, which is the gunslinger's engram, from listening to all of his stories will now find it in his store. They fixed an issue preventing the Explorer and Archon armor from appearing at the vendor. So those of you wanting to unlock the Archon, if you couldn't get the Realmwalker armor set, you'll now be able to do that by visiting Whispers. You will still need to convert the mysterious item into an engram to get the Explorer, but then your armor will be available at the Whispers vendor. They fixed an issue preventing Mudtooth's elixir from appearing in his inventory. After completing the game, you'll need to unlock the Explorer at Wallace and then Mudtooth's elixir is available. They fixed issues where Clementine was stand in random locations in Ward 13 after the cutscene in Blackened Citadel. There's been a fix for an achievement when meeting the Flautist if co-op player was spectating at the time where the Flautist was met. They fixed an issue preventing Revivalist trait from being awarded. It should now be rewarded after reviving another player 15 times. They fixed an issue with Archon's Havoc form Lightning Hand's casting speed now properly ramps up the Lightning Hand without going infinite. They fixed an issue causing Hunter's Focus not granting the proper weak spot damage bonus. They fixed an issue causing Hunter's Shroud granting multiplicative damage bonus. They fixed an issue causing Invader perk Shark to not apply its damage bonuses. They fixed an issue with the Gunslinger's Bulletstorm sound not terminating. They fixed a bug allowing the male engineer to ignore falling transition when overclocking. They have fixed visual effects alignment for Nebula and Hellfire primary fire. An issue preventing the plasma cutter from dealing the correct damage type to certain enemies. Another one causing Shield Breaker Mutator to not grant the correct amount of shield. The Nightfall mod visual effects terminate correctly now. They fixed an issue allowing the Dreamcatcher to trigger Dreamwave before it's properly earned. They fixed an issue that allowed Crystal Heart from stacking with itself. They fixed an issue causing Ring of Flawless Beauty not granting the proper weak spot damage bonus. Another issue with Anastasia's Inspiration causing infinite damage stacking on the Summer's minion. They fixed an issue preventing some boss and special melee weapons from receiving proper scaling. They fixed an issue preventing God Splitter from triggering Was This Supposed to Happen achievement. Another issue with the Primogenitor health bar incorrectly tracking and causing players to become stuck. Another one with Root Knight's Puddle projectile dealing damage on hit. Fixed an issue with Nightweaver projectiles homing in on the player incorrectly. The ED Alpha aberration in the Tower of the Unseen now respawns after the player dies and re-enters the aberration room area. They fixed an issue with Block Ruin, the Labyrinth enemy sound effect. They've fixed an issue where players could defeat the Unburnt boss without taking any damage by standing on the stairs under the wooden bridge. They've also fixed an issue where killing the Many Faces, the corrupted world boss Golem, when it's jumping between platforms would cause it to fall off the world in the Great Bowl. And then we have the last section, and that is fix multiple locations on final level where player could get out of bounds of the level. Fixed issue with players not receiving full damage by holding a throwable consumable or melee weapon in a throwing position. They fixed a collision issue causing players to get trapped along some edges in Morrow Sanatorium. Another one when using certain melee weapons, the character's face distorted. They fixed an issue where player could be locked out of Postulant's Parlor when application was closed after playing the board game. They fixed another one where the player was unable to open the door to Sentinel's Keep when exiting the game while inputting the Seeker's key last acquired first in the Rood. They fixed an issue where players were trapped when attempting to vault through a wall in Cotton's Kiln. They fixed an issue that allows players to skip the siege fight in Tiller's Rest. Another one with players falling into a gap between a boat and a wall in Tiller's Rest. They fixed floating doors in Cathedral of Omens. They fixed an issue in the Great Hall that allowed repeated XP rewards during the Feastmasters event, so that XP farm has been patched out of the game. They fixed an issue that caused players to get stuck in the throw animation in certain situations. They adjusted the kill volume height in the Custodian Eye Arena. And the last one that I've used quite a lot myself, they have fixed multiple scenarios that allowed players to transition through walls using interactives. So anyone using the high five to get through gates and walls and doors and stuff, yeah, that's no longer available. And that is the patch notes for the latest update to come to Remnant 2. I'm gutted about some of them, really happy about others, and hopefully moving forward the devs can just keep the balance going, keep players happy, see how the community respond to it and everything like that. But that was the latest patch notes for the newest update in Remnant 2. And on that note, we are going to leave the video there. If you enjoyed it, leaving a like is appreciated. If you wish to support me further as a creator, there are links in the description. Let me know your thoughts about the video in the comments. And if you want to watch more, you can click the video on screen. All support on the channel is greatly appreciated, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.